Hey, episode 3. Welcome to Caddie Shack.
Here we are.
We're making it happen. Man, yeah, big
What a weekend.
local news. Old Luca got
What in the world?
sent to L.A. Poor
in
guy.
the middle of the night.
Did you see his Instagram post to Dallas?
So sweet.
Little tearjerker.
No, I didn't read it.
It was very sweet.
Yeah.
You have to go and read it.
Was
It was
it a
nice.
video or?
No, it was just I think,
Maybe you can edit that into this video just right on
yeah,
top.
I'll put it up.
Yeah, you can throw
Thanks
it up
for
there.
giving me more work.
No, it was. What a wild shock. I don't understand. I've read crazy stuff about like weight being an issue at one point where apparently he's got up to like 270 pounds and didn't have the work ethic. But
Well, yeah, he doesn't train anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, why you got to pay this guy hundreds of millions of dollars, but he doesn't, train? I wouldn't do that. I would,
Well, when
I
you're
can
that
see where
good,
they're coming from.
if I didn't have to
but-
train, I was that good, I wouldn't either.
I don't know. I read something about like Joe Kick. Is it Joe Kick? Like apparently he doesn't play defense and he doesn't train well, and I think they're boys, but I don't know. A lot of hearsay. Either way, dude was like one of the best ever. Certainly one of the top 2 in Dallas history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly thought he'd be here for the long haul.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a
I think he did too.
shock. Everybody else did. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of a shock. Did you see the best part is like I just have been seeing all the clips on social media. And the funniest thing is like the one with GM and Jason Kidd. The GM's like, yeah, this was my decision, but Jason supports it. And Jason's kind of sitting there just like, what are we doing? I don't know.
That's exactly
I
what
guess.
it felt
I don't
like.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super awkward. I also saw something with Cuban that said, and this is a little bit older clip, but he was talking about Dirk versus Luka and saying if he was starting a team again, he would choose Luka.
Well, how?
Yeah. So who knows what's going on? I don't know. Do you think Cuban has any say in this anymore?
I don't think so. I was going to say, like, do you think that would have happened if Cuban was still in charge, if he still owned him? I don't know if he would have made that.
Very
let that happen.
speculative. I wouldn't. It seems crazy to me.
That's not
But-
his.
but
It
yeah.
feels like it wasn't his typical style.
We got him, or we traded him for Anthony Davis.
For Unibrow?
Yeah.
Unibrow. And when someone else, and then like what's funny is I thought it was a first round draft pick like
next year.
next year.
Not.
No.
Yeah.
Someone was just like, no, it's like 2029 first round draft pick or some stupid number like
Yeah.
that. I'm like, oh, all right, well.
I wonder how he
I don't
feels.
know.
He's
Anthony
got-
Davis, or whatever his name is.
I feel like everyone was blindsided by it. From my understanding, this is something that worked like last minute, and it was just GMs coordinating, and no one had a clue what was going on.
Oh, there is a video of Anthony Davis in the locker room, and one of the press persons like, how do you, something about summing up his time, or is he getting everything he wants in his time? Or he goes, you're acting like I'm getting traded out here. And like, sure enough, he got traded. Yeah.
Shoot. Writings on the wall.
Sad.
Yeah.
Love
Hey,
Luka.
sports, that happens.
It's no commitment to anyone. That
Yeah.
shows you. That's
I know, but we
crazy.
had Dirk, then we had Luka, and now it's kind of like,
What's crazy is you think, like, I've always thought about, you and I always talk about, like, for running our businesses, we talk about how sometimes you have to take, like, the NFL hard knocks mentality, right?
Yeah.
Like, you kind of get an insight into how tough the NFL is, at least, on some of that hard, like when you watch Hard Knocks and they're having to cut guys
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's just very straightforward. It's like, hey, like, we only have so many spots, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you tie that back into, like, business. Like, that never... Imagine if like companies were operated that way, where it's just
trading each
all-
other.
Yeah, like all the time, just like, all right, guys, this year we're gonna, we're only gonna take 10 people.
Yeah, and you're not going to get paid your
yeah.
bonus, but
And you're not, yeah.
thanks for everything you did.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Hey, Don, we're gonna go ahead and send you over to JBA. We're gonna trade you for someone.
Sorry about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Don's like no trade clause. No trade
trade
clause
clause,
on
yeah.
that one. But
No,
yeah.
but wouldn't that be crazy if that's how like regular business operated? Because that is a business for them.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird to think about, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
A lot of drama.
No, it certainly was shocking news for sure. Some other things. Geez. Donald J. Trump.
Oh man.
He is just like coming out swinging, and I don't want to. I don't really have a political opinion on these either way. It's just wild to watch what's going on. I did read quite a bit this weekend about the tariffs. Obviously, that was kind of the shocking news. We imposed a 25% tariff on
Canada and Mexico.
Canada and Mexico. I heard it was around. His explanation was that it was around limiting some of the drug stuff that's going on. Mm-hmm. Which it was interesting because I listened to the Canadian guy come back and talk through it, Justin Trudeau, and I apparently Canada is only responsible for like 1% of the fentanyl coming in, and Mexico's like 90% 90+%, 95+%, and yet they got hit with the same tariff. So I'm sure that I think we saw there were some responsive tariffs imposed over the weekend as well from them. Seems wild to me. I think we need to think about it certainly from an air conditioning perspective, because it's going to impact us at some point, probably pretty quick, because these went right into effect.
I got questions on the home building side. From all over the place. It's going to have some sort of impact. I don't know what it looks like, but
it looks like 25%.
Yeah. I don't know what the end result's going to look like, as far as like all that stuff goes up. But we were talking about before we jumped on here, there's almost every major manufacturer has a facility in Mexico. So, from an HVAC perspective, something's going to happen, right? Prices are going to go up or whatever that is. But yeah, it was like some crazy stat that like 90% of all air conditioning has some part or piece or is manufactured in Mexico. So,
and these are
it'll certainly impact costs.
These are big manufacturers, right? We saw, and I'm pulling up just so I don't misquote here, but it was Carrier. Carrier's got a lot of stuff going with this that we should talk about. But Carrier, Daikin, Lennox, Trane. Daikin owns Goodman. So there's just those are the big boys, and they're all manufacturing some part of their business down there. So they're going to see that. And then the other thing that kind of happened as well was, I believe he put another tariff or increased the tariff on Chinese products by another 10%.
Oh, another 10%?
Yeah.
I thought it was 10%.
There was a 10%, and don't keep, maybe I'm wrong here, but I believe there was another 10% put on February 1st as well to China, which is fascinating, because what people don't realize is that there's a lot of manufacturing of these components that come from China as well. In fact, one of the brands that we really like is Medea. Medea manufactures a lot of products for various manufacturers, and specifically where I said Carrier is going to have some impact in a meaningful way. Same with Haier. Carrier has a joint venture with Medea, and a lot of their equipment is made in China and Mexico. So they just got like slammed with massive cost increase just through the tariff. So.
Well, and everybody just took a price increase anyways, right? Because of the 454 stuff coming out.
The new refrigerant.
And I think some of the price increase was just the 454 was a good excuse for it to happen, but
now there's something else.
Now there's another one.
It'll be very interesting to see how contractors respond to this, right? Because what we've seen in the past, like going back to, let's say, just COVID days, you could go back further, but in the COVID days, costs went up. And they went up 5%, 6%, 7% during COVID. In some cases more, some cases less. But what happened was we saw pricing in the market go way up. They weren't like 5% and 6% price increases. They were taking 10, 12, 20%. The retail pricing of products went through the roof. And hopefully these tariffs we won't see the same result. One thing that's nice about it is we're just going to pass them straight along. So on the Caddie side, with the Caddie supply stuff, whatever we are given basically as cost increases, we're just going to pass those on at cost. So kind of how we're approaching the business, as opposed to trying to take more margin in these times, because I think it's a pretty unsettling environment. We're going to have, a bunch of ripples created. We're going to have to wait till the water's calm, and then we'll have to figure out what's actually going on, because we have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like it's 25%, but what does that mean? How does that trickle down to the actual price of the equipment? Manufacturers just did a price increase. So are they going to have to go do another one out to the market? I'm sure they'll, who knows how they're going to approach it, but
contractors just like us, right? Putting us in their same shoes. Like the last few months between this refrigerant changeover, which has been handled, and credit to the manufacturers, very challenging thing to do. It has been handled in a wild way. We didn't get pricing on a lot of stuff until even after the January 1st deadline or whatever. So it's really been, I'm going to say, a messy rollout, and I'm not knocking them. It's hard. You're changing over an entire inventory set to this new stuff with a 1 month cutoff. So they've been prepping for a while. Kudos to like Lennox. Lennox had a universal coil, I think, for a bit that helped them kind of be ahead of it. But it's been an interesting flip of inventory to now throw this on top of it. There's a lot of chaos going on out there.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Caddie Supply, we had kind of announced it last week.
Low key on here.
Low key on the pod. So it's not, we haven't really pushed it out, but by the time people watch this, probably the press release and stuff comes out. But Yeah, we've got the RunTru equipment, RunTru made by Trane. So kind of the value brand for Trane. And Caddie Supply is going to be, slinging that to air conditioning contractors. And getting guys set up with great equipment through RunTru and Trane. So
let's talk a little bit about RunTru. So the point of this is to share with you guys everything, so we can kind of talk through how we got to this point. I think we briefly touched on it in the last podcast, but I think it's good to just kind of dive deep. So we were talking to another manufacturer. Were we wrapped in NDA with that?
Yeah,
we were. Okay, so I'll keep that on the low. But it was
they make appliances.
A lot
of appliances.
I don't think that narrows it too much because there's a lot of manufacturers that make both at this point. But
that's true.
Yeah,
major appliances.
Major. Yeah. But that manufacturer was interesting because they primarily focused on higher SEER equipment, and so we were sprinting down this road, hoping that we would have a partnership with them, and ultimately they went with another kind of semi-regional, quasi-national distributor, which made all the sense in the world. They got a big stocking order, I'm assuming, out of it, and we're happy that they ended up where they wanted to. But we were working on that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So this Caddie Supply has been an endeavor that we've been working on for a number of years now, and we didn't end up partnering with them, and we ended up putting together a deal with Trane and doing the RunTru deal. And we're super excited because unlike the manufacturer we almost partnered with, where it only captured a small percentage of the market, RunTru is doing the opposite, which is way more aligned with kind of our values and trying to get affordable air conditioning to everyone, contractors, consumers, all. And so, I
was going to say, we launched technically Home Supply in May.
Yeah.
Caddie Supply kind of in the works. But out of everything we sold in, call it 7 to 8 months, what percentage of RunTru did we sell that homeowners actually chose over Trane just because simply price? Even though it's still made by Trane.
Large majority, almost all.
It was surprising.
Well, it was and it wasn't because we looked at that data, right?
I was going to say that I'm so bad with remembering numbers, but you'll probably remember it. What was that thing that said most sales for the SEER that are out there, right? Yeah,
it was like the 2023 Texas. It was actually we got it from the manufacturer that we were looking to partner with, which was funny because it kind of worked against their product line. But effectively, we tracked the shipments into Texas for the broad air conditioning industry, and it did include multifamily, new construction, and as well as the retro world. But what's wild is the 14.3, they actually categorize it as 15.1 and less, which is basically 14.3 SEER equipment, was over 90% of the market. And when you wrapped in the 15.2 stuff, so 15.2 SEER and 14.3, and for those that don't know what that is, those are kind of like your lowest SEER allowed systems per EPA regulations, certainly in the southern part of the United States. You combine 15.2 and 14.3 SEER equipment, and it represents over 95% of the units that were shipped in 2023.
Yeah.
So the large majority of people are electing to go with those.
Yeah, and price and SEER, as we know, but if you don't know and you're watching this, price and SEER kind of tied together, whereas the higher in the SEER, the more expensive it typically gets when you get your quote from a contractor, right? So you can get up to these 20 SEER communicating systems, that sort of thing. They're very expensive,
For sure.
Talking about a lot of money. And so what that tells you is that the majority of homeowners just want a new system that's affordable and that's going to cool the home adequately, right? Doesn't need to be some fancy, G-Wagon of a system in your house.
Yeah, well, we also have a energy savings calculator that I don't know how we got that, but together, and we compared, call it the 14.3 to 15.2 SEER, and the savings was like $2 to $3 a month. And if you even look at the 14.3, which is the single stage compared to variable speed, still minimum, but a lot of the quotes that we received was these contractors pushing the variable speed communicating systems because simply it's a higher ticket item.
Yeah. So let's put our hat on from the contractor perspective.
Energy rebates with that too, but
but
they weren't. It didn't equal out to make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of incentive around like the electrification programs and things like that, and staying with the gas. But when you started at a 15.2 SEER system, you qualified for energy savings, which going back to kind of the current events, I think, was it last Monday that I think Trump put out like some wild, we're shutting all federal subsidies and pausing it or whatever till like beginning of February. And it's interesting because I think that those programs would have been impacted by that. But those subsidies, we don't know what are going to happen with those long term. But they certainly help move higher SEER product. But to your point, Don, it's wild when you start looking at the actual energy savings going from even like a 13 SEER older system to a 16 SEER or whatever. It was minimal. And I think that contractors who might be listening to this should, seriously look at that and decide when I'm presenting something to the customer, is there really enough value here to like justify this? And I think that's why when what we saw on the home supply front, consumers were opting down because it just doesn't pencil out a lot of the times. When you're talking about $5 or $6 a month per system, energy savings, going to the higher SEER stuff, it's like, how do you justify or get a return on that investment? If you're going to call it an investment. Right?
Yeah. Well, no, I think we look at it
because you don't get any value out of that.
Yeah. And we also have a different perspective from it because at Caddie, yes, we have Caddie Supply, sell equipment to contractors, but we also have Caddie Warranty.
Yeah.
And on that front, we're selling obviously labor warranties to contractors, but we're also seeing the claims that come in.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is primarily the claims are coming from those variable speed communicating systems when compared to the single stage. And maybe you can talk to that. And I don't know if that's because
it's a great point. I mean, we know this from our fixed days, right? Like we would sell, like we said, at our peak, we were doing 250 plus systems. It was actually 253, but 250 plus systems a month. And anytime a job would come through that was like a Train XV20 or XV18 that was communicating, good Lord, we were like, well, buckle up. Here we go. We're going to go back 7-8 times to make sure this thing is correct. And you're right. Like, it's not the manufacturer's fault. It's that getting technicians trained on the control side was complicated. I don't know that the market was totally ready for that from having like a trained network. And kudos to them. They did a good job. I mean, we had to send our technicians to all these classes to get, certified or whatever for the communicating stuff and the variable speed. Yep. But you're absolutely right. Like, the reason that Home Supply had one thermostat claim the entire year over the couple hundred whatever systems that we did in the first 8 months is fascinating because we didn't do very many communicating systems. In fact, we might have done.
We did one. It was my stepmom.
That's it.
Yep.
One system, and it had its challenges right out of the gate.
It did.
Yeah. So you're right. Like it's those systems. It's again, they're not manufactured poorly. It's just the installation side of it is challenging, and so. Not only are you potentially getting a more expensive system, oftentimes, you're getting one that a lot of times these folks don't necessarily know how to install. And so the claims skyrocket on those relative to the more common lower SEER stuff. It's wild too, the difference. Like we saw.
And the other thing on the warranty side of that is what we've also seen is that the installation is everything.
It's everything.
So you look at the different equipment that's out there, and as a homeowner, if you're shopping equipment, or as even a contractor, if you're watching this, you offer the different brands. If you get a value brand and a top tier brand or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about the installation because that's what's gonna. And we see that on the claim side of everything as well, whether it's our own business or other contractors that use the warranty platform. Is that it's always within that first 60, 90 days or whatever that something goes wrong.
And that's so important because I do feel like sometimes the manufacturers get a lot of that blame.
They do.
But we got a statistic. I don't remember if it was from one of our manufacturer reps or something, but it was like less than, what was it, like 1%, not even 1 point something.
It was like 0.04% or something fail off the line.
Of equipment, fails. So it has nothing to do with the equipment. So shout out to manufacturers. They're doing their job. They're doing great. But simply comes down to installation.
I think it increases, and we saw some of it in transport. Like the warehouses are really where this stuff fails. Honestly, at the manufacturing facilities, this stuff comes off like awesome. It's the forklifts and stuff that are picking the stuff up that we saw that will damage a condenser shell or do something. It's like the transport is where that can happen. Yeah, but gosh, it's still like such a small fraction of the contribution to stuff failing relative to the compared to the install. Wild.
Talk about transport. Let's talk about how difficult it is because homeowners don't know this, right? Mm-hmm. You just buy a system, it shows up, they install it.
Yeah.
Talk about the process of okay, I purchased my system. What does that contractor have to do to get everything together? Do they just go to one location and pick up everything?
Well, with Caddie Supply, they're going to.
Yes, with Caddie they will.
Yeah.
But traditionally speaking, right now, that's not the case.
No.
They have to run around.
Yeah, it's wild. So it's a great question. A lot of these distributors and manufacturers, so let's just kind of talk about the whole who does what there.
Yeah.
I think it's important. In most markets, you're going to have, in big markets like Dallas, for example, you're going to have manufacturers that distribute as well as manufacture themselves. So Goodman does this, Trane does this, Lennox does this. Lennox does this pretty much everywhere, but they're a shared distribution and manufacturer partnership or entity. In other cases, there's independent distributors like Caddie, right? So you have, like in Dallas, there's a company called Shear Supply. They distribute American Standard equipment. And Ameristar, I believe.
Yeah.
And the ductless line. I don't remember which one it is. It's like, maybe it's LG.
I think it's
Could be
LG.
misspeaking.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what happens there is it would go from manufacturer to kind of a central distribution center to the independent distributor in some cases. And mind you, there's margin all along the way here. And then from there, it goes to a contractor who picks up and brings it to your house. Now, it's in Shear Supply's case, or some of these independents, they do a great job, kudos to them, on having supplies there. But in some of the manufacturer cases like Trane, while they have supplies, that's not their core focus for their business. So they're pricing on things like plenums and the ancillary stuff like pads and whips, disconnects, things that you would use in your install. They're not price competitive, or as price competitive. At least for us, they're not, right? Maybe with other accounts they are. So then you go to companies like Ferguson. Ferguson's an independent wholesale distributor, very large national footprint. It's amazing when you think about the amount of products they sell and how they keep up with this stuff. But Ferguson, Reese, which used to be Morrison, they're big on the supply front. Same with Standard Supply. We should give them credit too. They have the Cool Care product that we compete with, but they are more supply focused. And even though they have an equipment brand, they're very supply heavy, I believe.
Standard Supply.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what their equipment brand that they offer is off the top of my head, but
I feel like it's an Amana product, but I don't know. But yeah, so I think your original question was like, how complicated is it to get it? Well, when you're buying brands like that are factory distributed, like a Trane or a Lennox or Goodman, oftentimes you're going to other places too to get those ancillary supplies, right? So in most cases with us, we're going over to Ferguson or we're going over to Reese, and we're picking up those installation accessories, I'm going to call them, the non-equipment parts. And so you're going oftentimes, and depending on the year, like this last year we just started earlier talking about equipment being transitioned over. Well, they kept inventory very low this past year. So let's talk through a realistic scenario.
Let's go through one of the days that we had last summer where it was
so crazy.
In fact, I bought a truck so I could do this.
Yeah.
So that where you had to go, we're in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so you've got Garland, which is on the far east side of Dallas, Fort Worth. And then you've got the Carrollton, which is kind of a HVAC hub, right? That's where everybody's got a branch or a location. And then there's Mesquite over there too on the east side of town.
There's
McKinney.
There's McKinney and there's
Fort Worth, Arlington.
But we would put orders in, and then you would have to check. And part of the equipment would be in Carrollton. The other part would maybe be in Garland or Mesquite. And then you have to get, like you said, you got to go get the install supplies or whatever, whatever you call them, the add-ons at a Reese or a Ferguson. And so, you're just kind of bouncing around and literally trying to get it all back into one central location to then go to the homeowner the next morning, right? So you
very much bouncing around.
Yeah.
I mean, we put like thousands and thousands of miles on vehicles just organizing the condenser in Garland and the coil in McKinney and the furnace in Carrollton and then the ancillary supplies, hopefully all in one location at Reese and Carrollton or Ferguson. Wild. So
it's a half a day situation because even when you get there to pick it up, you have to wait. It's not like you pull up and load it in.
No.
Well, and the alternative is that if we had we were trying to do it in a way where obviously we're passing a lot of savings on and trying to eliminate a lot of the overhead costs, right? So we don't have a giant warehouse with, tons of boxes stacked and tons of equipment and supplies stacked, which is a lot of companies do, which is their prerogative. That's how they do things. We're trying to utilize the wholesalers that already have that stuff stocked. Why have a giant facility and try to manage that whole process? So we were trying to kind of logistically coordinate getting everything together, the day before each install, which worked pretty well. Yeah. But it's a lot of driving around and
that's what we're trying to do with Caddie right now too, right? Yeah. So to your point, what we realized is that there are big distribution companies out there, i.e. Trane, right? Linux. They have been doing this for a really, really long time. They have got huge footprints. They've got way less debt to service on these facilities, and that is a huge impact when you're talking about running an efficient business. If we opened up a 30, 40,000 square foot warehouse, we'd have a ton of rent or a ton of debt to service if we bought the building. Setting aside things like depreciation stuff that are beneficial, we still would have a massive cost burden with that. So Caddie is a fascinating thing because we're trying to do things differently. So let's talk about the supply side and how we envision this going. So we're trying to eliminate that driving around, number one, for our customers. So for contractors, we don't want them to drive around. We are going to be the ones that drive around for you, right? So we are packaging together, this is a big deal, all of the supplies, generally coming from a different supply house, into one package with your equipment ready and delivered to you on the job site or at your contractor, at your place of business.
Yep.
So it's a service, it's a value add. How are we doing it competitively? Well, we're leveraging our customer base to go in and get better purchasing power, right? So as we continue to grow, right now we've got, it's more than a handful, but it's less than 100 contractors on the Caddie supply side. As we bring more and more contractors onto the Caddie supply platform, which we haven't really even pushed out, it's been kind of friends and family on there. What we'll see is that we'll be able to leverage that purchasing power with, folks like Ferguson or Reese or whatever on the supply side. And we'll also be able to leverage it on the equipment side with the manufacturers we're representing. But in this case, it's RunTru. And then we're, being thoughtful, not to overshare, but the way we're thinking about the business is we are interested in partnerships with companies like Medea, who are manufacturing, I think it's a very large percentage of like Carrier's equipment right now.
Yeah.
We would like to do stuff like that long term as we get a more predictable sales volume so that we know what to bring in, because we will be having to purchase in a different way where we will have to warehouse and things like that. But, we will get there. We are trying to do it smarter. We're trying to lean into the guys that know what they're doing on the wholesale side and just add a little bit of service on top of it to make this a better experience for contractors.
Yeah. So kind of goes back to the whole, we've done this before, and so we're for contractors by contractors kind of model. It's how we built the warranty program. It's how we've done everything, really, is just from our own past experience and try to make it better for everybody else out there. So packaging everything together so that the contractor just has to go to one place to pick it up or get it delivered to their warehouse or wherever they want it, makes life a lot easier for everybody. So they don't have to do that driving around.
Yeah.
Which was so fun last summer. But
yeah. So basically, if you're a contractor, we walked in your shoes, completely understand running around is a hassle, time consuming. So we want to bundle it for you. But then also coming from a contractor's perspective, we also understand you want some type of deal or rebate when you do purchase a large amount of equipment. Yeah. And so we're working on that as well. I don't think we've finalized the details yet.
We haven't firmed up how much of a discount we can afford. Our goal with Caddie is to get folks the most value, whether it's the service we're talking about with having everything put together or whether it's the price. Yeah. We're very price focused folks here, right? Like we're very mindful of that. One thing that we're doing with that we can at least share with folks that, at a high level. Now, we're not going to get like so weedy that we say it's, 4.9% discount, whatever. But what we're doing is we're trying to pass any type of volume savings that we're able to negotiate with the manufacturers onto the contractor. And the way we're going to do that with Caddie Supply and the way we're doing it is that we have different volumes at which you earn a discounted price point in the form of a rebate. Okay, so when you come in and you start with us, yes, you might have a higher price point. You all right? Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
I didn't see. Is a timer going on?
Yeah, it's running.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll cut that out.
I don't know. I don't know if we switched over to see Dawn there, but Dawn's about to fall out of her chair looking at something.
I was like, what are you looking at?
Sorry, I
thought you were smelling Evan.
No, no, I'm not smelling you, but I thought this whole thing wasn't being recorded. I was like, what the hell? Okay, sorry, continue.
Giant red record is usually the sign that it's on.
That camera's right in my way. I'm going to clap so I can know where to cut.
Right. Don't cut that out. You keep that in there.
Yeah.
No, so going back to how we're gonna price this, which I wish someone would have done with our accounts as we were, when we were blowing and going. There's going to be thresholds at which you buy enough from us, whether it be a count on systems or just an overall revenue, which is I think where we're ending up on your total purchases, where you'll be able to get a rebate on what you purchase. And we're going to administer that rebate program very quickly. So the frequency at which we would deliver those rebates is going to be hopefully monthly. I don't want to overcommit us to that, but we're targeting trying to give a monthly rebate as well as a discount code. So it's good because there's no negotiation with us. You're not coming in as a Caddie supply customer and saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy 10,000 systems this year, and I need XYZ pricing." We're not your supplier. You would come in as a customer and you would buy at our set price point, and then you would earn discounts as it moves. And so there's no negotiating.
Yeah.
And we don't like the high pressure sales, whether it be from a TM or even at Home Supply with a salesperson in someone's house. Like, we're trying to avoid that. We just want it to be transparent, upfront, simple to understand.
Yeah.
So that's the goal that we're doing.
Well, and the other thing that you get, like if you're a small, medium-sized contractor, that you realize the bigger contractors probably have better pricing than you. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And it seems like when you're dealing with, TMs or whatever it may be, there's always a better level. You just didn't, it's like,
that.
Should I have asked for another level? And then after that, is there another level? Like what,
There's always another one.
Yeah. So it's kind of wild. So like, because we try to pride ourselves on being transparent, it's just straightforward. Like, here's our set price. And then the more you buy, the more your price goes down. And it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you play golf with us or go on fishing trips or go on hunting trips or whatever it is. It's all the same price for everybody that's on the platform.
Yeah. Which is like wildly.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, it should be. It's consistent with kind of how we approach everything. It's like, I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why. You're getting margin if you're good at selling something off of relationship-based stuff, right? Which we value relationships, but we should talk about that in a second. But we don't need to be best buddies while you're making more margin. That seems weird, right? Like, I would rather not take a trip with you, and I mean this in the nicest way, and get a better price point. We always took that approach with Fix, where it was like, don't ever bring in, hunting trip offers or whatever to our folks. It's like, just give us the best price. And speaking to that, like the relationship side, it's not that we don't like TMs. We love TMs, right? There are some fantastic folks out there. Like, I love the TMs that we have for our accounts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love some of the manufacturer reps that are out there. But you're weighing those trips basically against your personal, and this is the way we think about it, against your personal life. And it's like, if I had the opportunity to go on a trip with my wife on my free time versus going to, onto a deer lease with a TM from a wholesaler, I'm going to go with my wife on a trip, and I'm going to try to pay for that with the savings that I've got because I bought better.
Yeah. Ultimately, someone's paying for that trip or that dinner, whether it's the contractor or the homeowner.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
No.
That is not our model.
Yeah.
Our model is to get all the way down to the consumer, the lowest price.
That's right. Through the supply chain. Now, we want everyone to make money, but yes, exactly right. And I'm not saying that we don't want to take trips with our TMs. Like, maybe we do, but we want it to be our decision. If we're going to, pay for a trip through one way or another, to your point, like, I want the ability to decide if that's a trip that we're going to do together with our TMs or our partners or whatever, or with my wife or, with you, like, same thing, like with the employees, however we do it. So different way of thinking about it, more transparent.
Well, and a lot of those incentives, from what we've seen, don't get used. Like, there was some crazy stat that like our what percentage of the marketing dollars for Train back when we were doing Fixed never got used, and we were like, we didn't use ours at first. We were like, wait, you're saying we have what to spend? It's like, okay, well, we need shirts, so let's go get shirts, or you have to have the manufacturer logo embroidered on it or whatever. There's all sorts of different deals, right? And but that's just one little incentive. There's tons of incentives out there, right? And so our whole goal is just to be lean and get everybody the best price. We'll have some incentives. There'll be stuff that we do every once in a while, but it's not going to be we're not going to have all these different programs and stuff like that. It's just, you're coming to Caddie Supply if you want to get the best price on that equipment possible and it packaged.
Yeah.
Ready to go. Right.
Yeah. It reminds me, kind of tying this full circle to what we talked about with tariffs and what's going on in the world. Like, we're all keeping up with what's going on with this like Doge effort or whatever you call it, the efficiency program of the government.
Yeah.
Where they're going to just like cut a tremendous amount of jobs. And I feel bad for
condoms
people.
in Gaza. what? $50 million in condoms for Gaza. Did you not hear that?
I know, but
they cut it. Yeah, there was like $50 million going to condoms in Gaza. They use them as like bombs and stuff like that. Yeah.
What?
You didn't see this?
No.
Oh yeah.
Use them for bombs?
Yeah. Yeah.
What in the world?
It's true. No, that was like the big news thing last week. That was like one of the big things they found, that there was Doge was stopping.
Lord.
You didn't see this?
No.
That was like the biggest one.
I feel like I would remember that.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to look it up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta look it up. Sure. It's wild.
But what they're doing is they're going in and they're finding, and we've seen this as we've joined a big corporate group. There's a lot of the times where there's one-off scenarios or two-off scenarios. Out of 100,000 situations, there's one, or two that happen, and all of a sudden you got to create policy around, policing those.
Yeah.
And that leads to so much oversight and so much like wasted effort. And I would tie that back to some of these OEM and distributor programs because, like, to your point, just administering the marketing dollars earned on some of these things are wildly complicated. And so then if you're the manufacturer or the distributor, you've got teams that have to go check into that and make sure it's, correct. And then from the contractor perspective, you got to employ someone to make sure that we're earning and claiming all of what we have out there. And so those things are very, they're very administratively burdensome.
Yeah, it's a sales tactic that they're using.
Yeah.
And I think it's just not what we're doing or what we want to do.
It's not right or wrong.
No, definitely not. It's just a preference and a different way of running your business.
Yeah. We just are taking a very simple approach.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours is very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's we always talk about the grunt test. Like, you go to the website, if you look at it and you know what it is right off the top, that's what it is. Like, very simple. Just that's what we're doing. Get equipment, get it cheap. That's
right. Yeah. And get it quickly.
Yeah.
Packaged, simple, avoid the running around.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we wanted to like kind of go over today. I'm looking at some of our notes, and I think it was really talking about how we're doing the packaging with RunTru and what RunTru distribution looks like with us, and we're super excited about it. I think we're going to sell a lot of RunTru. I mean, I know we will through Home Supply, so hopefully other contractors want to take advantage of this. And if you're a contractor watching this, like, share stuff with us. I promise you this: whatever you share with us will not surprise us in terms of what the costs are, whether it be high or low.
Yeah. You can go, if you're a contractor and you want to get more information on it, you can fill out, go to caddiesupply.com. There's a form to register for an account. It's very straightforward. You can sign up there, and then someone from our team reaches out and gets you set up with your discount code or whatever code you need there, and your login stuff, and shop away. I
think I want to say one more thing on this, and this might be a little confusing to people. We do need to be careful if you're a contractor watching this and you do sell Train currently, or if you're a American Standard contractor. It's a little bit of a weird area for us because Train does have the ability to distribute RunTru in market, and Shear Supply has the ability to distribute American Standard and Ameristar, which is very similar to RunTru. Reach out to us if you have questions and you're interested in working with us, because I think it's a little bit of a different process. If you do choose to go with Caddie, you have to, actually ask for like a release, I believe, from a Shear Supply thing. And so that's the only dealer base that we've had, conversations about. Mm-hmm. We want to be fair and respect, the Shear Supply stuff there. But, at minimum, maybe you work with us and you get an idea of what our pricing is, and it helps you negotiate a little bit better pricing with your independent wholesaler. If not, and it doesn't work, that's okay. It's worth a call to see if you can do that. But if you do want to work with us because you do like the things that we're talking about, we're happy to have the conversations and work with you. But do you want to point that out? Because that's one of the weird scenarios in DFW. And then
we got the other modules too, right? So maybe the RunTru thing doesn't work out for you right now, but maybe you're interested in the warranty product, the workmanship guarantee that we just pushed out, $50 a month, run your own warranty program.
Maybe you want free leads.
Free leads. We got those jobs coming. If you want to do installs or repairs and you want them for free, there's no, listen, we used to work at Angie. We know how it goes.
Yeah.
You can get a free job. It's not a lead. We're not selling it to 4 other guys. It's just go straight to you. So all sorts of good stuff.
I'll say there's a ton of clubs.
A lot of clubs.
Just to name a couple.
A lot of clubs in the bag.
Keep adding more.
Yeah.
Keep adding more. So, yeah. No, this is good. Hopefully this helps people understand what we're doing, and hopefully this is short enough for you to make this an easy editing job on you, Don.
She's gonna
it never is, but it's okay.
She's going to take out that piece that she goofed up on.
Oh, definitely. You won't see that. Okay. Check us out, Caddie.services.
CaddieSupply.com.
All things Caddie.
CaddieWarranty.com.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
We're out.